Morning, everyone. Whoa. We're starting the day and we're already behind. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2016 Canadian Conference on Physician Leadership. My name is Lynn Harrigan. I'm the current president of the Canadian Society of Physician Leaders, which we fondly refer to as the CSPL. I suspect that most of you don't know who I am, so I'll tell you a bit about myself. I trained as a general internist originally, and for the last 10 years have been involved in senior leadership positions on the East Coast, and currently I'm the Vice President of Medicine and Integrated Health Services for the Nova Scotia Health Authority. So I don't know how much about what's going on in Nova Scotia has been on your radar, but certainly I find myself stopping listening to the CBC News in the morning because I seem to be on it all the time. But Nova Scotia is going through a major system transformation. And we are attempting to shift the direction of healthcare provision in Nova Scotia, trying to make it population-based and patient-centered. And there's a lot of churn going on in Nova Scotia at this time. And so when there's a lot of churn going on and a lot of change going on, one thing that's become very apparent to me is that physicians are critical at every table, at every level of the organization. If we're not there, we will not be successful. If we're not there, we will not achieve results. And so I think the title of the conference today, Leading Together, Achieving Results, really resonates with me, and I hope it also resonates with you. And I think we have a jam-packed program over the next 2 days, and I hope you will enjoy it. You know, sometimes when you're in a leadership position, you can feel quite isolated. Sometimes I just go home and escape and try to wonder why I'm doing this job. And I can say that I saw many of you at some of the pre-conference courses, and the energy in the room of those pre-conference courses was in fact palpable. We were very, very excited. Part of it was because of the subject matter. Part of it was because we were learning something new, getting a new tool in our toolbox. But I think more important than that was the fact that we were connecting with other leaders who had the same issues as we did, who may have solved some of the problems we were facing. And the whole concept of connection is really important. And so one of the offshoots of this conference is not only to sit at the plenaries and participate in the workshops, but also make an effort to create networks. So during the coffee breaks and at lunch, make an effort to sit with people you've never met before. I know in my current job, I have been on the phone and emailing people that I have met at these conferences over the past few years from right across the country: British Columbia, Alberta, Ontario, PEI, New Brunswick, and in my own province of Nova Scotia. So do not underestimate the importance of networking, and I hope to network with many of you over the next couple of days. And so now for some housekeeping issues, which Carol will shoot me if I don't deal with. So this morning you'll have the plenary sessions, then there'll be a workshop, then lunch, and then the debate. And the debate promises to be very exciting, so I encourage you all to attend. The debate occurs at 3:30. But after the debate, in this same room, we'll be having an award ceremony. We're presenting the Award for Excellence in Medical Leadership given by the CSPL. And we'll also be recognizing those who have achieved the Certified Canadian Physician Executive Credential. And that's a lot of hard work, and I think it's important for all of us to be there to acknowledge and support those physician leaders who have achieved these awards. So I encourage you to be there right here from 4:30 to 5, and then afterward there will be a reception, usually wine and cheese, picture taking, all kinds of things. So I encourage you all to participate in the day. Tomorrow morning at 7:45 to 8:25 in Salon B, which is right over there, we'll be having our CSPL business meeting. Now, if you are a member of CSPL, and I hope that you are, and if you aren't, please come at our booth and let's talk to you and convince you about becoming a member of CSPL. But if you are a member of CSPL, please come to the business meeting. It's important for us to have a quorum and make some decisions for the upcoming year. Next, the workshops. If you turn to the back of your name tag, your workshops will be listed there. Now, you may not have achieved your first choice, but we really ask that you attend the workshop to which you are assigned. The workshops are quite crowded this year, and we don't want to overcrowd the rooms. We want everyone to get a reasonable educational experience, and we really don't want to be policing anyone, so please, I trust you to actually go to the workshops you're supposed to go to. And finally, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the sponsors of the event. Without them, we could not have this conference. I encourage you to visit the booths during the break and at lunch, and want to recognize them now. Our Level 1 sponsors, the Alberta Health Services, Level 2, CMPA, Canadian Health Infoway, the Canadian Medical Foundation, the OMA, and our first-time sponsor, Mercedes, and yes, there is a Mercedes in the foyer. You might go around it and drool a little. Our Level 3 sponsors, Royal Roads University, and first-time sponsor, the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ewan Affleck, who will speak to you about our newly minted entity, Joule.
We're the same height here, Lynn. We were separated at birth. Bienvenue au congrès. Je m'appelle Ewan Affleck. Je suis un omnipraticien du Grand Nord du Canada. Ça fait 25 ans que je suis dans le Grand Nord, présentement à Yellowknife. Puis je suis sur le conseil d'administration de l'AMC, puis aussi de Joule. So I'm on both boards. As I've said before, I'm a very bored man. This conference is about leadership, and I've been pondering it a little. You know, in the arrogance of my youth, I thought leadership was ancillary to the equation, really of no relevance. I thought we could just do whatever we wanted. In perhaps the arrogance of my ripening mid-career, with an emphasis on ripening, I recognize the folly of my perception that leadership wasn't important. I think it's of profound importance. And you know, leadership is a funny thing because it's a hard thing to gauge, to define, to quantify. Leaders come in manifold shapes and sizes. But thematically, I think there are some consistencies. And one is that if you are an effective leader, you often have to go to what I call a lonely place, or that lonely place. This is for those of you who've been in positions of leadership, and that's probably most of you, you've felt lonely many times and had to decide or travel ground that was unstable. So I'm going to tell you a brief little story, and then I'll get to a little discussion of our new subsidiary, Joule, at the CMA. And this may be a story many of you already know, but there was a gentleman, a doctor named Barry Marshall, about 35 years ago in Australia with a colleague, Dr. Warren, and they were doing research on the cause of peptic ulcer disease. And they found this little bug, Helicobacter pylorus, and they said, great, well, we discovered there seemed to be a causal link. So they published this. It was very well done research, and they were met with almost universal scorn, skepticism, and overt hostility from their colleagues around the world. And in fact, it took a long time for them. They were in a place of deep loneliness in this, despite the fact that their research was very credible. Ultimately, Dr. Marshall had a scope, showed that he had a normal stomach, and then drank a vial or a glass of Helicobacter, infected himself, and developed peptic ulcer disease, had another scope, and it was demonstrated. And he demonstrated on himself the causal link. Now, this is innovation. This is the sort of thing that Joule is going to be looking for, if you're willing to harm yourself in the course of if your passions are deep enough. In any case, so what does this illustrate? I mean, ultimately they were right, and as we all know, as practicing physicians and healthcare providers, they changed our approach and they went on to win the Nobel Prize as well. It illustrates that we have a deeply conservative organizational culture in healthcare that is often not terribly receptive to innovation or cultural change, and this has been observed by David Naylor in his report and so forth. We have trouble spreading and making innovation stick. And it also demonstrates that not everyone is going to make themselves sick for their project as leaders, and so there are probably a lot of innovative ideas and a lot of leaders that end, unlike Dr. Marshall, because they are lost in that lonely place. So this is important because healthcare in Canada is stressed. I mean, if you look at comparators to other Western industrialized nations, we have huge issues, right? We have a quality deficit. We are in need of leadership. We are in need of innovation. in a very deep and profound way, it's really not sustainable. And as stewards of healthcare innovation, or one of the stewards, physicians have a very important role to play there. So, what's an example of leadership currently? Well, and maybe I'm a little biased, but what the CMA has done with the creation of Joule, its new subsidiary, is very interesting. So it's going to a place where it hadn't really been before. And that is, it's created a subsidiary that will be charged, or has the mandate, it has been launched, to create products and services and foment ideas and so forth that will help us be better physicians. And part of that is creating something called the Innovation Council. And the Innovation Council is charged with the mandate to find, to locate, to nourish, to promote, and to fund innovative ideas by physicians. So why is this important? Well, maybe it's important because we'll have our new app, which you can check out and sign up for on your phone, where you can consolidate and organize tools that can assist you in your care. But I think it's far more important symbolically. It's important because it's an endorsement of our fiduciary responsibility to be leaders, to innovate, to go to risky places to help make our system better. So I think that is fundamentally the important thing, and why conferences like this are so important. Because we have that obligation. I believe it is our social contract with Canadians to be innovative, to help sustain our system, to ensure that we can continue to improve the quality of care that we provide, to render our system sustainable. I'll leave with just one last comment here, and I believe there are about 70 medical students in the room, and they've been sponsored by Joule, and they're here meeting. And so I just want to welcome them in particular. You are the leaders of the future. Don't be a fool like I was and think leadership is irrelevant. It's rather ironic I'm standing here at a leadership conference when I say we're all irrelevant, when I thought that 25 years ago. So I want to acknowledge the students and welcome to the conference, and let's have a good time. Thank you.